Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the 10th and final summer 2019 Analogues update from GavsWeatherVids.com. So I've done 9 updates so far and they've been pretty interesting as well. They started off not too bad. The earlier updates weren't too bad at all for a warm and dry summer. But as these updates have gone along, particularly as we've started focusing on March and April data, the updates have got worse, got progressively worse and more unsettled and cooler, really, for the summer of 2019. We've only got this update to do. We're going to be focusing on ENSO for this particular update. And then once this is out of the way, then we're going to get the forecast together for you for 1 week today. So we're pretty much at the end of the countdown to the summer of 2019 now. Summer forecast 1 week away. But we still have this update to do, and I'll get on that for you very shortly. Just say that coming up later on today, we're going to have the Gals of his Sunday Roundup. That will be released sometime around lunchtime. And then later on after that, we're going to have the Metro France, ECMWF and DWD seasonal model update, and to take us through the summer and into the autumn as well. Just to say that the third and final season model roundup for the summer of 2019 will be coming up on Saturday, and then the day after that we'll have the summer forecast itself for you. A big thank you to our analogues guru, James Ackworth, for getting all of the analogues together as usual. So, again, I couldn't do these videos and these updates without James's input. So, big thank you to James for getting these analogues together for us. It's going to be quite a long video, so you can't watch it in one go. Don't worry, it will be kept at the website indefinitely on the summer updates page, and there'll be a written summary just going over everything that we discuss in the video. Come back and have a look at that later on today. It'll be placed sometime this evening. Right, let's get on with the 10th and final summer 2019 Analogues update. So we're focusing on ENSO. Now, the start of the year, we had a weak El Nino going on. So that's, of course, is the cyclical warming and cooling of the Equator-Pacific Ocean from Peru over here to Indonesia. Over here, you see it was a very weak El Nino, but you do have the signature of El Nino through the tropical equatorial Pacific Ocean. Well, that weak El Nino has faded back towards ENSO neutral now. So, again, that's how things looking in the Equator-Pacific Ocean in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies right now. We have lost many of those sort of orangey colours. They've gone back towards yellow through this central part of the Equator-Pacific Ocean, telling us that this El Nino is fading away. But the first batch of analogues that we have to look at has to be where El Nino continues all the way through the summer, if you like. So you begin with an El Nino at the start of the summer, and it's still going on as you progress through the summer. That's quite unusual that to happen. Normally, El Nino sort of fades back to ENSO neutral, and then possibly goes on to La Nina. But sometimes, just sometimes, you'll keep an El Nino signature going right the way through the summer. So you'll start off with El Nino and still be going on as the summer progresses. So this cold warm episodes by season chart from CPC shows what we're talking about quite clearly. It's showing all of the individual El Nino and La Nina events going right way back to 1950. I want to go down to the year of 2014, 2015. So you see there we've got 2014, just there we've got 2015. So we have a late starting weak El Nino developing late in 2014. That weak El Nino continues into the start of 2015. So the winter of 2014-15 was a weak El Nino winter. But you'll notice that instead of those red colours fading back to black, what actually happens is that the red colours just carry on through the summer months, actually strengthening through the summer months. So 2015 is an El Nino year all the way through the year from start to finish. And in fact, a strengthening El Nino year. And that encompasses the summer months as well. So that's quite unusual, but it is a possibility that we might see that happening this year. So the first batch of summer analogues that we have to look at is where El Nino just continues on through the summer. So the first year we got for when that happened is the summer of 1877. So this is an El Nino all-summer year. So it starts off as an El Nino at the beginning of 1877. This El Nino carries on all the way through the summer. You see that this summer is very unsettled summer. It's got blocking signal towards Greenland. It's got below average heights over the UK and much of northern Europe. So this is a cool and an unsettled summer too, with a southerly tracking jet stream. That's a very poor summer in 1877. The next summer where this happens, we have El Nino persisting all the way through the summer, is 1888. That has a northern blocking signal with high pressure up to the north and low pressure to our south. Probably quite an easterly summer, but it is a cool and it's an unsettled summer in 1888. The next summer is 1900, where we've got El Nino continuing all the way through the summer. This one's a bit better. It has above average heights up to the north. It has below average heights to the west. We're drawing some much warmer east or southeasterly winds with this summer. That's a better summer in 1900. Then we go through to 1905 and we're back to another pretty poor summer. So this one again with below average heights to our southwest, above average heights up to our north and northeast. And so this summer again looks unsettled. Perhaps not all that cool, but certainly a very unsettled summer in 1905 with showers or longer spells of rain. Long gap then through to 1941. So it is very unusual for El Nino to be able to persist all the way through the summer like that. As I say, normally you will find El Nino fading back to El Nino. And you find it's fading back to ENSO neutral, I should say, and then going back even further than that to La Nina sometimes. But anyway, we come to 1941, so a long gap, and we find that in 1941, unsettled summer, below average height centred over top of the country. We do have a bit of ridge from the Azores high, bit of ridging up here, but overall that looks like a relatively cool and unsettled El Nino all summer. Then we go through to 1953. This one also looking very unsettled. Look at this, below average heights coming through the country with a jet stream like that. It does have a blocking signal up to the northeast, but that does us no good. Really, this is a very cool and unsettled summer in 1953. 1958 next. This is looking really grim as well. Look at that, below average heights over and to the west of the UK. A blocking signal up to the north. That's a very, very poor summer with El Nino persisting all the way through it in 1958. Then we've got 1969 as our next year. This is a rather better summer. This one again with above average heights through the UK, but also extending up towards Scandinavia as well. We bring in quite a lot of warm easterly winds. Has a nice warm July. I think August is pretty decent in 1969 as well. I mean, it's nothing to get overly excited about, but for a 1960s summer, which is a very, very poor decade for summers, it's not bad. It's okay, really, the summer of 1969. By modern standards, it probably wouldn't be anything to get excited about, but back in the 1960s, that was probably one of the best summers of the decade. 1987 comes up next, where El Nino is carrying on all the way through the summer. This one, again, with above average heights out to the west and the northwest of the country. Below average heights to our east, and we're bringing in northerly winds. So it's a cool summer in 1987. It's not all that bad. It does have drier interludes, but overall it's a pretty mediocre summer. It's probably not as bad as the two summers before it, 1985, 1986. It's probably not as bad as the summer that comes after it, 1988, but overall it's a pretty mediocre summer. It's quite cool, and it is fairly unsettled as well, really. Not a particularly good summer. And then the last one, again, quite a long gap, to 2015. So, as I say, this is very unusual for El Nino to be persisting all the way through like this. So, we already saw it on the season-by-season chart, of course, but 2015 is the last time this happened. This summer also quite a poor summer, really. Below average heights out to the western over the country. It does have above average heights across southern parts of Europe. So for southern and southeastern parts of Europe, it's a very warm, hot summer. But for us, generally, we've got this northern blocking signal up here. So generally, it's quite a cool, quite an unsettled summer, really. In 2015, quite a poor and mediocre summer. It does have one very, very impressive burst of real heat, though. Just for a couple of days at the very end of July and very end of June and the first day or so of July, it gets really hot. But other than that one burst of real heat, overall this is a very poor summer in the summer of 2015, or it's not a great summer, let's put it that way. Right, so putting all of those years together, not all that many of them, as I say, it is quite unusual for El Nino to persist all the way through the year, but putting all of those summers together, this is what we come out with. All Junes combined has above average heights up to our northeast, below average heights down to our southwest. Interestingly, that's a very similar pattern to what the CFS V2 is forecasting for this June. If you saw the CFS 6-month lookhead last night, it's on the catch-up page right now. If you saw the CFS 6-month lookhead, you'll know that's a very, very, very similar analogue to what the CFS V2 is forecasting for June, interestingly, and maybe a little bit worrying that we would actually have some backup for June, but there we go. So probably quite a warm signal for July. I could envisage we'd be bringing up the air from kind of like a southerly to southeasterly direction, but with this trough out to the southwest, volatile, unstable, and so potentially quite thundery signal, actually. And for the southwest, anyway, probably quite a wet signal too in June. Then July looks like that. July just goes more unsettled, really, with below average heights on average coming through the country, rather like that with the jet stream as well. We've got the blocking signal up to our north as well, so July really does deteriorate quite a lot. And it gets even worse with these El Nino all year, all summer analogues, with again blocking signal up to the north, below average heights to the south, and again bring the jet stream through like that. Very unsettled and cool signal for these El Nino all summers. And that's how the summers themselves are looking, and it's not great. Below average heights, low pressure in the Atlantic into the UK. There's a strong blocking signal going on up to the north as well. The jet stream is pushed onto a southerly track. The jet stream is going through like that, and so these summers are obviously very, very unsettled indeed, very mixed summers to say the least, with quite a lot of wet weather expected, and you will think pretty cool temperatures on average with a lot of those summers as well. However, we don't think that this summer is going to be an El Nino all summer, because we think we're going to be we are fading back at very least to ENSO neutral at the moment. We may even end up by the end of the summer going into the autumn heading in towards a weak La Nina. I'm not sure about that, but certainly it does look as though the days this El Nino are numbered, and we're going to fade back to ENSO neutral. So the next batch of analogues that we're going to look at in a moment, I'm going to pause the video get a little drink of water for a second or two. But when we come back, the next batch of analogues that we look at are going to be Nino to neutral, and in some cases will eventually arrive at La Nina, but not in all cases. And we're primarily looking at weak El Ninos as well with this. So you're probably not going to see those super Nino years where we have super Nino and then go to ENSO neutral. We're looking more at the weaker end of the El Nino range. So Nino to neutral will be the second batch of analogues that we're going to look at in a moment. But I'm going to pause the video there, get a little drink of water, and we'll be back very shortly. You'll see whether those Nino to neutral analogues are any better than the El Nino all summer analogues that we just looked at. So I'll see you in around 2 seconds time. Okay, and we're back with our 10th and final Summer 2019 Analogues update from GavsWeather.com. So we're looking at ENSO for this final Analogues update for the summer of 2019. Before we went to our little break, we was having a look at El Nino all year, or all summers. A very poor batch of analogues, you have to say. Really going for very poor summer type years indeed with those analogues. However, we think that's an unlikely scenario, as I was explaining before we went to the break. We think that's unlikely, but we're going to see El Nino going on all the way through this summer. We think we're already fading back rapidly towards ENSO neutral. So the next batch of analogues that we're going to be looking at is weak El Ninos that are fading to ENSO neutral into the summer. In some instances, some of these will be then progressing on into La Nina, but by no means all will be doing that. So let's get on with the second part of the video then. Again, we're back to the warm and cold and warm episodes by season chart from NOAA and CPC, just so they can see what we're talking about with this. So a good example of the kind of scenario we're talking about here is 2006-2007. So there's 2006 there, there's 2007. Just there. We see that in 2006 we have a weak El Nino developing in the second half of the year. So you've got these black numbers just here through the summer of 2006, kind of like ENSO neutral. But through the autumn and into the end of 2006, we get these orange numbers appearing. Although they're not particularly big numbers, so we get red numbers, I should say, appearing, telling us that we've got a weak El Nino there late in 2006, and that weak El Nino continues just into the beginning of 2007 before it then fades into ENSO neutral through to the summer of 2007. By the end of the summer of 2007 into the autumn, it's actually going into a La Nina event. So that's doing a transition from weak El Nino to La Nina. But not all of these weak El Ninos actually do that. Sometimes they, perhaps more often than not actually, when it's a weak El Nino, it will just fade back to ENSO neutral. So that's what we're looking at for our next batch of analogues. Weak El Nino to ENSO neutral. Sometimes that might progress on to La Nina as it did in 2007. So the first summer that we look at is the summer of 1866. This one, Nino to neutral summer, has below average heights over the UK and much of northern Europe, above average heights towards Greenland. This is a cool and unsettled summer in 1866. Here we go again, perhaps, but maybe not, because then we go through to 1869, and this looks like a much better summer. It's not as good as the hot summer of 1868 that came before it, but nevertheless it has an anticyclonic signal just out to west of the UK, so it's a relatively dry and reasonably warm summer in 1869. 1881 is the next summer. That's going from El Nino to ENSO neutral. This one, again, deep area below average heights over UK. That's a cool and unsettled summer in 1881. 1886 is next, with below average heights over and to the east of the country, above average heights in the North Atlantic and over towards the north of Scandinavia. Cool and unsettled summer again in 1886. 1906 comes up next. This is a slightly better summer, this one with above average heights extending from the north down into the UK, below average heights in the middle of the Atlantic. The flow of the jet is going something like that. So a fair amount of dry weather in the summer of 1906, and probably quite warm at times as well. However, then we get to 1912, and this is one of the worst summers of the 20th century. Has a strong blocking signal up to the north and a trough of below average heights parked over top of the UK. And so this weak El Nino to ENSO neutral summer is, in fact, one of the worst summers of the 20th century. 1914 next, the summer of 1914 looks like that. This one showed up quite a lot in our earlier analogues updates from the sort of the first set of analogues updates, if you like, the earlier ones, but it hasn't been seen as much lately. But here we are, it's back again for the 10th and final summer 2019 analogues update. This one with above average heights to our north, below average heights to our south. Looks like it's an unsettled summer, but also quite a warm and quite a volatile summer. It's a warm summer in 1914, but it is quite volatile. Heavy showers, maybe thunderstorms. Now we've got another really bad summer for 1924. Look at this, deep trough of below average heights in off the Atlantic into the UK. That's just a really, really bad summer again in 1924, up there with the very worst summers of the 20th century, really. 1952 next, so quite a long gap from 1924 to 1952. For a weak El Nino to ENSO neutral summer. This one's very cool summer. It has above average heights out to the west of the country, below average heights to our east, and we bring in wind from a northerly direction there. So it's a very cool and also quite unsettled summer in 1952. 1959, though, is a better summer. So this one, with the above average heights extending into the UK from the east, below average heights are pushed up towards Greenland, the jet streams pushed northwards as well. That's one of the better summers of the 20th century. It's a very, very good summer, very prolonged summer. It begins in the spring and it's still going on in September and October. So a very, very good extended summer in 1959. 1970 isn't bad either, really. It has above average heights as the anomaly extending through the UK. Think about 1970s, it has a very, very warm, very hot June. Actually, and then it kind of like goes a little bit down the tubes the further on we go into the summer, but overall it's not a bad summer, really. 1970. 1977 is our next summer. That's going from weak El Nino to ENSO neutral. This one with the above average heights just out to the west and northwest of us, below average heights to our south. It's a rather cool and rather changeable summer. Brings a very swift and abrupt end to the two hot summers. That's 75, and of course the daddy of summers, 1976. It brings an abrupt end to those two hot summers, 75 and the daddy. It's a cool and unsettled summer in 1977, back to normal really after 75 and 76. Then we've got 1978 showing up next. So we do have these weak El Ninos going on in the late 70s. Interestingly, that continuously keep fading back to ENSO neutral during the summer. So this one, 1978, again, it has above average heights to the north of us, below average heights to the south. It's a cool and unsettled summer in 1978. Very poor summer, really, the summer of 1978. But then we have a good summer with 1995. So this one eventually arrived in a weak La Nina, but that was really beyond the summer period. The summer itself was kind of like weak El Nino to ENSO neutral, and this is like a toned down version of the Daddy. Really, it has above average height centered almost over top of the UK, or centered over top of the UK. So low pressure's out in the Atlantic. Jet streams pushed off northwards as well. It's an exceptionally dry summer. It's actually a drier summer than 1976, but it's not quite as hot. But it's probably the best summer of my lifetime in terms of extended warm and dry weather, because I was born just after 1976. I was born in 1977, so I just missed out on 76. So for me, this is probably the best summer of my lifetime so far, and it is nice to see the summer of 1995 showing up in our analogues package for anyone that wants a hot and dry summer. And then we got to 2003, so all of a sudden these analogues are getting rather better. The summer of 2003, which is showing up quite a bit actually in these analogues updates this year. This one again, above average heights over to the east of the country, a trough in the Atlantic. We bring the air up from the south, so it's a hot summer in 2003, very hot in August of 2003. 2005 is next. This is one of those summers that everybody's forgotten about, really. Not a huge amount going on. It's quite a warm summer. Particularly June is quite warm and volatile, a very thundery summer in 2005, but it's not really remembered a great deal this summer. I primarily remember it as being the summer when Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, was released at the cinema, but other than that, I don't remember it a great deal, actually, the summer of 2005. And then finally, it was not a surprise because we had a look at it when we looked at the season by season chart. We've got 2007. Now, this one again did arrive at La Nina by the end of the summer, but for most of the summer itself, it's actually going weak El Nino to ENSO neutral. This really grim summer has a blocking signal up to the north, strong blocking to the north, and the trough of below average height centered over top of the UK. Very, very cool wet summer. It would look a lot worse than that if it wasn't for August. August did save things a little bit. Did get warmer and drier in August, but June and July were absolutely dreadful. And July 2007 was the wettest since July 1936. Exceptionally wet summer, and very, very poor summer indeed. So bringing all of those together, when we're going from weak El Nino to ENSO neutral, this is how the All Dunes combined chart is looking. So it tends to have above average heights to the north of the country, below average heights tend to be to the south. So relatively dry signal actually, I think, for June, and we're probably bringing in easterly winds quite a bit as well, so probably a relatively warm and dry signal for June. I don't think that's too bad, although the trough to our south could threaten rain to southern counties, may be a bit thundery, but overall not too bad to start off with. July tends to deteriorate a bit again though, the above average heights becoming more centred towards Greenland, below average heights to the south of us. So probably a deteriorating type month in July, maybe turning more unsettled, maybe turning cooler too. And then we finish up at August, and August just finishes up looking really, really bad again with these analogues. Bear in mind there will be years that are that are sort of deviating from this within this analogues package. So we know, for example, that we've got within our analogues package, we've got both 1995 and we've got 2003. They're next to each other. 1995, 2003, both really hot Augusts. So within this, there is the potential for a very hot August, actually, but it's a low probability within the overall analogue package itself, if you see what I mean. But when we come to do the forecast itself next week, we do have to weight these possibilities and probabilities. We have to weight what we think the more credible of the years are. That's always the tricky part when it comes to long-range forecasting. But the analogues package overall does quite clearly suggest a very grim month for August, with below average heights over to the south and the east of the country, and a really strong blocking signal towards Greenland as well. And so we pull in those winds from a northeasterly direction. Very cool and very unsettled signal overall for August. But do bear in mind, we have the examples of 1995 and 2003 that are deviating. When we bring all of those summer months and summers together, finally, when we're going from weak El Nino to ENSO neutral in the summer, we tend to get blocking to the north, and we tend to get below average heights to the south and the east. So it's a cool and unsettled signal overall with these summers. Bear in mind, June isn't too bad, July's deteriorating, and August on average gets very, very grim indeed. But then there are those examples of 1995 and 2003 that give us a hot August. And that's it. That is the end of the summer 2019 analogues update. So I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope you found this season of summer analogues updates interesting and informative. We've looked at pretty much everything we can do now. When we do next week's forecast, we might try to include something for May. Just depends if we've got time to do that, and if we're able to do get anything useful for May, because we're still going to be some way short of month's end. So we do try to get that final month, be it May or September or November or whatever, we do try to get that final month into the forecast somehow. It's always quite difficult to do, so we may not be able to do that. But what we will be doing most definitely next week, this time next week, we will be releasing the GavsWeathers.com Summer 2019 forecast. So we're going to bring all of the analogues updates together, all 10 of them. They'll be brought together along with the 3 seasonal model roundups. Remember, one more seasonal model roundup to do on Saturday, this coming Saturday. And we're going to bring it all together, and we will be releasing the GavsWeathers.com Summer 2019 forecast in 1 week's time. So the journey is pretty much over, and all that remains now is to release a forecast, and you'll be able to see that next Sunday. Alright, this video will be placed on the summer updates and forecast page with a written summary going over everything that we discussed in the video. That'll be with you this evening. Before that, though, we're going to have the Gavs Study Roundup, and we'll also have the Meteo France, DWD and ECMWF seasonal model update. But at 32 minutes, just over half an hour, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.